And today I'm extremely delighted to be joined by someone who has led partnership professionals, grown successful partnership strategies and programs at companies like Go1 and Facilitate, as well as co-founding HR and L&D Tech Fest, which remains Australia's largest gathering of HR professionals. So our guest today is Simon Yeowart, head of partnerships at Facilitate and part of the growth leadership team, working on building global partner relationships in the XR learning world. It's great to have you on the show, Simon. Welcome.
Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. It's been a little while. We obviously have worked together previously. It's great to have you on the show and connect after a few years.
Yeah, it's a big world, but it's a small world, right? It's great to keep running into familiar faces and keep those connections alive.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously it's been a little while. So why don't we start from the top and share sort of your journey to date and how you ended up in your current role at Facilitate?
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Well, I guess I always say my journey was not a typical partnership journey, but I don't know whether there is a typical partnership journey for professionals. But yeah, I started life many years ago as a lawyer, which I think set the grounding for me in many ways, but was never really my passion, as it were, and sort of transitioned into creating events and training for lawyers, particularly around technology innovation and transformation. Obviously, an industry that is ripe for all sorts of innovation and advancement of technology, and found that really fascinating, and it really sort of piqued my interest into what other industries could be disrupted or innovated through technology and that sort of thing. And from there, it was, as you said, I was lucky enough to be part of the founding team of HR and L&D Tech Fest, which was sort of almost 10 years ago now. We sort of identified a real groundswell in HR and learning professionals looking to go beyond that role of just a sort of administrative function, and really helping drive business improvement through, a lot of the times, through the use of great technology and great tools, which were have come on such a long way since that time. As you mentioned, I had a great opportunity to work with Go1 from the early stages of their growth and sort of various roles in their partner team, eventually looking after partner success at a global level. And yeah, my current role, really excited to help grow an exciting business called Facilitate in another industry that's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with technology. So looking at how partner success and partner ecosystems can help drive VR as a tool for really immersive learning, and the sort of next stage in the evolution of where companies are looking to learn.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, obviously, looking back at your time at Go1, you held some fairly significant partner roles and really helped drive the success of that stream within Go1. So it's fantastic. So you touched on Facilitate. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit more about Facilitate and what they do?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we're essentially a content creation platform. So the real aim of the organization is to try and democratize and make it easy for anybody with a vision of learning to make an immersive content. So take it to that next level of immersion, and use the technology and the tools that are out there to create XR, VR content without the need for particular coding ability or significant training. So our platform's really there to help anybody with a learning or training role use our drag and drop platform to create immersive content without the costs and the time that previously would have been spent on sort of agency or coding professionals to help them do that. So really excited to sort of enter this space and see what's possible with our technology, which I think is market leading.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it gives options to many different people who probably once upon a time wouldn't have had the ability to create that sort of content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an industry that everybody wants to know about, and everyone feels like there's something there for them. Like you say, there's often been that gap between the sort of conceptual stuff about what you read about and what maybe the largest companies in the world are able to do with unlimited budgets. But there's so much practical use that you can get from the technology, and what we're trying to do is just make it as easy as it is now to create 2D traditional e-learning content, but in the immersive medium. Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. And you touched on it briefly at the top. For the listeners at home, can you tell us a bit more about your specific role within the organization?
Yeah, so we're a relatively small organization still, but I'm part of the growth leadership team, and we've really identified early on that relationships of all types, particularly in an industry that's at the stage the VR industry is at the moment, are going to be key. And so I'm looking at all levels of collaboration and options to bring that technology to customers in a more frictionless way. And as you know, that essentially means partnerships. How can we work with different types of organizations to present the customer with the best possible solution for them at the time? And so, as a Australian founded company, but with a global product and a global application, we're looking at all types of partnerships to help push our platform out to the industry, bring the industry forward together, and make sure that we're really being practical and impactful on businesses with what they're able to achieve. So yeah, essentially looking at all aspects of the partner ecosystem and how Facilitate can grow through that network.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And you obviously you touched on that, facilitating multiple different facets of channel. Obviously, you've got your agencies or affiliates. Do you focus on any one in particular, or are you fairly open? Integration partnerships. Are you fairly broad, or do you focus in on any one particular sort of stream?
Yeah, I think there's probably two main aspects to Facilitate's product that sort of lends itself to collaboration and partnerships. The first, on the content side, as I mentioned, we've got a platform which is perfect for anyone who wants to create content and use that platform to streamline that process. And so if you look at that, we're talking and working with anybody from professional content creators to learning and development professionals to organizations who have a use case in mind that they want to develop in an immersive medium, and they can use our platform to create that content and then choose to distribute that in whichever way makes most sense for their business, either commercializing that and selling it as their own proprietary content, or distributing it amongst its own ecosystem. So on that sort of supply side, we're working with content creators all over the world who are finding our platform really intuitive and being able to then take that content that they've created and use it for their commercial needs. And then obviously on the other side, the distribution side, we're working with a number of distributors, referral partners, and resellers who have that access to the end customer, and they have frontline experience of customer needs and particularly in the training and safety areas where customers have a burning platform or something that they really need to achieve through training, and VR and XR is the most appealing and most relevant way for them to deliver that. And our platform is sort of the connector which helps them do that in a much more affordable and an easy manner. So yeah, on a global level, we're working with distributors from the small and boutique right through to the large hardware providers and global distribution networks. So yeah, quite a range, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds very diverse. I'm sure it keeps you on your toes and nice and busy trying to juggle all those different partnership streams.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting though, right? Because as you identified before, partnerships is really just connecting the dots between people who have access to different parts of the buying chain and people different parts of the industry. And so for us, we're really clear on what we think our value proposition is, and we're not the solution out there that's going to do everything. We want to fit into many different parts of the chain, and partnerships is the fastest way to grow that at scale, the easiest way to break down barriers like geography or distribution channels or supply issues. And so yeah, it's really a good place to be because you can go a lot faster than you could if you were trying to do it all yourself and grow through sort of traditional sales channels, as it were.
Yeah, it's the one to many as opposed to the one to one, really, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
Very good. And then, on your journey, obviously you spoke about, it probably wasn't a traditional journey coming from a law degree, a law background into this particular arena. If you had your time over again, is there anything that you would have done differently in the partnership space?
Yeah, I don't think you do anything differently, but you certainly learn a lot along the way that that helps shape the way you do it in the future. I think like striving to be data driven and be really focused on being a data driven organization is a great goal, and I think businesses should still aspire to be data driven, and the value of empirical data and playbooks is really important. But if I look back on like particularly my partnership career, there's so many more like macro and micro factors which impact the success of partner projects that sit outside of that data and really need a lot more nuance and interpretation rather than just the pure numbers. So if I think back, like most of the major decisions that I've made, rightly or wrongly, have relied much more on human skills like listening and interpretation rather than just focusing on pure numbers. I think like as I've developed over the years and led partner teams and sort of had more junior members asking for advice, I've tried to really encourage them to develop those skills broader than just looking at pure sales numbers, pure sales metrics, and think about things like critical thinking and agile planning, which I think in a strategic business are much more relevant as we move to like a more global world and more collaboration, and just not being scared of making human decisions rather
Yeah.
than purely relying on the data. And I know that again, don't want to create the wrong illusion. I'm all for really impactful data and using it in the right way, but I think sometimes we can be a little bit narrow in our interpretation of things, and often the best things in business and in life are made with a bit of intuition as well, and not being afraid of making a human decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the robots haven't taken over the world just yet. So at the end of the day, we're still dealing with human beings. And I suppose, that critical thinking element is a very valuable skill, not just in channel, but, in business in general. So I completely agree with that. It's taking the data, but then having the ability to analyze and then roll out an effective plan on the back of that makes a huge difference. So no, that was a really good piece of advice. Excellent. And then from a tech stack perspective, obviously the nuances of channel can be quite detailed. Do you guys have a specific tech stack that you use, or what's sort of the process there?
Yeah, well, again, I think tech stacks are really important, whatever size of business you are, because any automation that you can do for tasks or things that don't require human critical thinking and don't require the human elements free up your time to make more of those impactful strategic decisions and have those conversations. And so even though we're a relatively lean team, we're really conscious that any insights that we can get or any help in deciding where we best spend our time is going to be really impactful. So we use probably the traditional base level tech stack that most SaaS organizations would be looking to start out with. So HubSpot as our main CRM and single source of truth for data in our sales organization. Relatively new adopter of Zoom Info for more insight-based tracking and sort of campaign building, especially across partner ecosystems. It's delivering really good data and insights around sort of where we should be focusing our partner time and our partner conversations, and then really simple things from a practical point of view and an efficiency point of view. Like we use Fireflies for taking notes on all our calls and analyzing our calls to just give us insight into any trends through that, and sort of linking up the conversations we're having with customers and partners.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean it's good to get as much information as possible, and all these different systems have worthwhile skill sets. So it's good to bring them all on board. Excellent. And you've led, as you said, you've led successfully, grown successfully a few different partnership strategies now. What's the biggest challenge that you've found when launching or growing these partnership strategies?
Yeah, I think in the early stages, what you're trying to do is establish those patterns and find repeatable trends that you can then act on and grow on. But I think what I've learned the most is that if you assume standardized behavior across all partners, all geographies, all parts of the industry, then you're going to be quite disappointed, because each partner organization you work with, just like each customer organization, has its own culture and organizational challenges and things that they're going through themselves on a weekly, quarterly, annual basis. And so the rug can be pulled from under you quite quickly if you sort of take the mindset that because company A is set up in this way and company B is its direct competitor or its peer in the space, they're going to act exactly the same way if we, you know, treat them exactly the same way. And that's not always the case. You know, you're dealing with, as I said, different cultural entities, different business structures and different priorities. And therefore, you've really got to be quite adaptable, even when you're working in quite rigid partnership structures and frameworks, to understand what's going on in your partner's organization that is impacting the way that they're working with you and interacting with you, and really be adaptive to, you know, just tweaking and changing certain things that you do, which can have a material effect on how they perceive you or how they work with you. And so I think, you know, often organizations can be guilty when they bring in a partner team or a partner side to their organization of very much simplifying the process and saying, look, if you do something once, then repeat it with 10 similar companies, we're going to get exactly the same results. And that's absolutely not going to be the case. You've got to really know your partner ecosystem inside out. And that goes back to, you know, what partnerships is built on, which is human relationships, knowing your stakeholders in those partner organizations really well, and being able to have honest conversations with them about, you know, how and why things are happening in a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a case of one size fits all at all. You know, there's many different ways that you can set up for each different partner. So that's a really good piece of advice for anyone listening. And then probably the last question from me, you know, is there any questions that I haven't asked for you, or do you have any advice for new channel partner managers? Obviously, you know, you've set up H&R Tech Fest and everything else. Is there anything else there that you wanted to share?
Well, I mean, the most important thing, I think, is to know and communicate and be an advocate for the value of partnerships. You know, the stats are showing, we've discussed this, that you know, the stats are showing the increasing importance of partnerships, both as a channel, but also as the way that business is being done at the moment. And so, you know, my advice for any channel partner managers is to really become an advocate for that channel and make yourself known to every part of the business, and really learn about every other part of the business that you're working in, so that you can communicate in the right way about the value that you can bring them. Because, you know, again, people perceive partnerships as different things. Some people think they're a pure you know, lead generation channel. Some people think they're an extension of the sales team. Some people think they're a technical integration team, and they can be all of those things and all of those things at the same time. So you really have to be conscious of your role and the importance of the channel within an organization. And secondly, just be prepared to have some uncomfortable conversations, you know, whether positive or negative. Relationships is the key, and good relationships are actually built on honesty and not fake platitudes and relationships. You've got to be able to be comfortable to have a conversation with a partner, even if it's uncomfortable, and say, look, here's what I think is happening. Can you shed any light on why that might be? And if you can have those frank conversations, you'll be much more set up to know where to spend your time, the way you can get the best out of that partner. If you sort of just run along by presenting a sort of solid face or a straight bat, as we would say here in Australia, like you're not going to get very far. And so I think, you know, the partner managers who I've seen succeed are the ones who really get deep and have those conversations, whether comfortable or uncomfortable, build those really deep relationships.
Yeah, I mean that's really insightful. I suppose a general theme that are coming out of these podcasts is transparency and not being afraid to set up the foundations right from the outset, and that might take some uncomfortable conversations to get all those parameters set in place. So yeah, completely understand, and yeah, it's a great piece of advice. Excellent. All right, we might wrap it up there, unless you've got anything else, Simon, that you wanted to add.
No, thanks, Adrian. That was
Yeah,
great fun, and I
yeah.
appreciate you inviting me on.
No, you're welcome. It was obviously great to get some valuable insights. As I said at the top, the purpose of this is to bring awareness for the channel industry and to promote further growth within this space. So for any new channel partner managers coming into the ecosystem, I'm sure they'll get some lovely little gold nuggets out of what you've spoken on today. So yeah, I just wanted to say a huge thank you. And yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
No, anytime. And yeah, if anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn, it's quite unusual surname, so you'll find me pretty easily on there. And yeah, always happy to chat to anyone in the industry or in the space. So yeah, really
Perfect.
appreciate it.
No, I'll add your LinkedIn into the comments below this, so everyone can reach out if they have any questions.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Excellent.
Adrian. Good to
Thanks
see you.
again. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Don't forget to follow Crux PRM on LinkedIn or cruxhq.com to register as a guest.